Hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream on the channel. So it's only the second time that I'm doing this, but today I wanted to do a live stream to talk to you guys about, first of all, what is happening in Germany and with Tesla being pushed, or they try to push Tesla to open up the superchargers, and that seems to be really polarizing within the community. So I thought we could have an interesting conversation about that. But on the other hand, it is also a test for me because right now we are live streaming over Starlink, and we're expecting some heavy rain afterwards, maybe in about half an hour, something like that. So we'll see how long the live stream lasts, and maybe we get some nice results. Maybe you get some choppy results. So let me know how good the stream is, because it is streaming through space, which is just awesome. So yeah, first of all, the thing I wanted to do today is to talk to you guys about what is actually going on in the first place, and then also why I think we should not worry too much about the news, because there are a lot of things that need to play together and need to fall into place for this to be able to work. So when I actually announced this live stream, there was a lot of comments that were coming in, and a lot of the comments were like, no, Tesla should not allow this. Now, this is kind of a double feeling for me, because as early Tesla people, we like to welcome all EVs to the world because we need to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport and energy. And while we get other EVs and those other EVs would like to make use of the supercharger network, then all of a sudden we go like, oh, wait a minute, no, we don't want that, right? You can play in your corner, but let Tesla alone. And that's kind of a double feeling for me. But on the other hand, the supercharger network is still Tesla's biggest point biggest advantage, where other EVs are gaining. And I will talk about, for example, Ionity, which is the Volkswagen initiative. Well, it's not only Volkswagen, there's a lot of other companies involved as well, but this is the initiative in Europe as an alternative. And you have Electrify America in the US, of course, as well. I don't know that much about how it's going on in the US, but I can definitely talk about Ionity and my own brief experiences that I've had with it. So yeah, before we get into that and start comparing those two, I just wanted to give you a few reasons why I think we should not be worried too much. First of all is the cable length. If you look at the supercharger, the way it is constructed right now, sometimes it is even short for a Tesla to be able to charge there. So let alone having other cars. So maybe a car with a plug in the front, like Audi, for example, they have the plugs in the front. Or on the front side, maybe they can still reach that point. But if there are like other places for other cars, probably the cable won't even be long enough. So that is definitely a key point why it's not just plug and play for other brands to come and charge on the supercharger. A second point is also the plugs, and let me show you a little diagram here. So I'm just going to focus on the EU right here, but right, if you look at the EU column, the AC plug for Tesla that they are using is just a Type 2, a Mennekes Type 2 connector. But Tesla is also using that for DC charging on the Model S and the Model X. So they are abusing an AC standard and making that a DC charging option. So that is okay, as long as you stick to Tesla only, right? Now, Tesla has been forced to adopt the CCS standard. Now, they are part of that consortium that decided on that. So every new supercharger now will have CCS plugs. But that also means that the Type 2 plug for DC charging cannot be used on other cars. So the V1 superchargers and the V2 superchargers, they cannot be used by other manufacturers. So that is quite simple, and they are out of the equation from the start, basically. Now with the CCS adapter, all cars can basically charge on that, but then you have the problem of how should they pay, and I'll come back to that in a little bit. Let me see a few answers here or reactions here. So Isan says, one thing that is always forgotten is Tesla wanted to build a supercharger network as consortium with other car manufacturers. Indeed, so Tesla has always been publicly open to other manufacturers to use their superchargers, but up until now, there's a rumor of, I think, one brand that is supposed to be using it, or supposed to be capable of using it, but I have not seen any other brand actually taking it into consideration. So yeah, okay. I'm reading a video cut here from Philippe. Everybody else is still seeing me because we're starting. You never know, of course. Let me know in the chat if the video feed for you is still working. Now, on the other hand, we have the market in the US with the specific Tesla plug. So, and that plug is actually, it is a dedicated or a custom plug. So it's even harder for other manufacturers to do that unless they want to make an adapter. And I don't think that Tesla will foresee some kind of adapter as well. So, okay, that's the adapter part out of the way. So CCS will be the only one that will be capable of that. Now, to avoid confusion, Tesla has also did some poka-yoke on the new dual plug superchargers, where you have a CCS and a Type 2. So if you look at the left picture here, then you see that this is a picture of my charge port on my car. You see that for the Mennekes Type 2, there is like this little triangle at the top, and that triangle prevents or is there to allow that Type 2 charger from the dual charger stall to be used in the Model S and Model X. On the Model 3 you don't have it, so that little triangle basically prevents the Type 2 to be used in a Model 3. So there's also kind of a fail-safe in there, which I thought was very interesting to know. Right, so if we look at the plug and charge, so right now you have the ISO standard 15118, and that is basically the standard for plug and charge, and it describes how it should work to just plug in, don't need an RFID anymore, and that's really important for all of this to work. And that is something that I would really welcome, because I really hate it to need to have all these RFIDs available, and depending on where you go, you have different pricing. Okay, you can still fix that, or you can still have the same thing with plug and charge, depending on which MSP you're related to or you have your contract with. But it should be just as simple as what a Tesla is right now. Just you arrive at the supercharger, you plug it in, the thing starts charging. For me, I still have free supercharging, so it doesn't charge me anything. For a new car, it automatically detects the car, it automatically knows that you don't have free supercharging, so it charges you the correct amount. And those amounts vary from country to country also. So I think that is also one of the biggest advantages of driving a Tesla, is just the plug and charge and the ease of use. And I think if Germany really wants to move in that direction to make sure that Tesla will open to other brands, then yeah, the same thing needs to happen. Then other brands will also need to have that plug and charge capability. Now, so far there are only 4 cars that I've found that are actually capable of doing it right now, and that's the Opel Ampera E, the Porsche Taycan, the Lucid Air, which is still under development, and Ford Mustang Mach-E. They are capable of doing that. The other cars are not. So also Tesla is not implementing that ISO standard. So they do a plug and charge interaction, but they have their own interface and their own integration that's the advantage of being Tesla and having that vertical integration, of course. And with that vertical integration, you can do whatever you want until you need to become public, and then you need to adapt as well to other standards, of course. So yeah, the no RFID, I like that. If that were for everybody, right, that would be awesome. Now also Ionity is at the moment not capable of doing that plug and charge. So Tritium, which is the company that is manufacturing the Ionity charging stations, they say that they are working on it, but as of now, it is not capable of doing that. Then of course, there's also the matter of pricing. If you look at the pricing, when I go charge at Ionity, it heavily depends on what kind of MSP or mobility service provider that you have, because it's all different pricing. If you have an Audi or a Volkswagen, you will charge at, I don't know the exact numbers for them because they have special contracts, but I believe it was around 35 cents per kilowatt hour. If I go with my Tesla and I use my plug surfing badge, then I will pay for the same charger, for the same speed, I will pay 89 euro cents per kilowatt hour. So that is more than double. It's 2.5 times the price. And that is also something that we could do, or Tesla could do. So they could say, okay, you have the free supercharging for Tesla, you have the 0.28 cents or 0.3 cents for the ones that need to pay. And if you come with your Porsche Taycan, by all means, you can charge at the Tesla supercharger, but it will cost you 89 cents, just like Ionity does. And that would limit, of course, the number of visitors that you will have. And it's the same as Ionity is for me. I just use it in case of emergency. If there's a completely full supercharger, I will skip it and try to get to the next one or another one. But if I really have to and I'm on a trip, I will stop at Ionity, for example, to charge up and avoid the queue at a supercharger. So yeah, Yuri, indeed, that's up to 20 euros for 100 kilometers. That's more expensive than gas here in Belgium. So yeah, that is definitely not good that we do that. There's of course the alternative that governments could intervene like they do with gas prices. They set a maximum gas price. But yeah, I mean, then it's more taxes than actual electricity that you're paying. And I don't think that's a good idea either. We just need to have everybody to place as many chargers as possible. And of all types, right? You need to have the chargers that just go at 11 or 22 kilowatts for when you're staying a little bit longer. And then you have the supercharger along the highways to get you to your destination as quickly as possible. Don't you dare. We're all here about EVs and we like to keep it with EVs, of course. So that is the pricing. Now, of course, for the waiting times, if everybody needs to play together and we get like Fastnet, which can charge really fast in the meantime, you get the Tesla supercharger network, you get the Ionity network, then, of course, if all the prices would be the same across all the different chargers, then you get a load spread also. Then it doesn't matter where you charge because they can all charge roughly equally fast. There are some differences, of course, but anyway, but that would spread the load, and that would mean that the people that would come to the supercharger, they are not charging at Ionity, for example, or at Fastnet. So that would mean that I could go there and it would make little to no difference. But again, it all depends on the pricing. I really like the Tesla supercharger network. I personally am not in favor of opening it up because you'd be giving up one of the most important advantages of owning a Tesla, just because of that simplicity, that abundance. And I have been lucky so far. So far, I have not yet, in the 6 years that I'm driving a Tesla, I have not yet had to queue up at a supercharger. I I've had a couple of times where I actually had taken the last spot, the last available spot, but I have not yet queued. So yeah, for me, I've been lucky, but other people, they have queued here in Europe as well. Now, what I do is I try to avoid the very busy weekends for traveling, so I don't travel on like Christmas, on Thanksgiving, on switch of holiday season. So the last weekend between July and August, you get a huge switch. There's some other dates that you have to keep in mind. I try not to travel, and I try to avoid those dates. I try to leave a day early or the day after that, and that way, so far, that technique has worked for me. So I can say politicians in Sweden are actually on the verge of intervening, good or bad. Yeah, so as I said, it could be good to have some uniformity in pricing and to have everybody playing by the same rules. But on the other hand, usually governments intervening means that the progress is going to slow down. Taxes will go up on those things. So I'm not sure if it's good. It would be good to have everybody on the same level, but for everything else, I think politics should be avoided in the adoption of EVs. Let's see, what do we have here? Give Tesla low tariffs on Ionity chargers, but how if they do not support plug and charge? I'm not sure I understand the question, Philip, because with Ionity you can still get your MSP contracts. They can negotiate a lower tariff. So Tesla could create their own badge, for example, their own RFID. But again, it's yet another RFID. But they can give you a contract and then they negotiate a price with the Ionity consortium to get you charging at the same rate as you do at the superchargers. So theoretically, that would be possible. I don't think that Tesla is playing that game. Yeah, what the saying, I have multiple friends that pulled the trigger on a Tesla over another EV because of the superchargers. I'm also one of them. When I bought my first Tesla in end of 2014, I got it early 2015. Then I think, no, it was end of 2015, got it 2016, yeah. No, it's still the first, yeah. Oh man, it's been 6 years already. All right, so it's been one of the reasons why I bought it, and even then the superchargers were spread thin. They were good. Here in Belgium, you had like 2 or 3. You had Nivelles, you had the Antwerp service center, which is now off the map, and they use it for their own service. It's still accessible, but it's off the map. And you had Ghent, which has disappeared also. But now we have like 10 superchargers, something in that area. So it has grown exponentially, and it has been so much more a joy, a relaxing experience to not have to worry about anything. I still remember the first trip that we did was to Sweden, and my wife was really anxious about it. And the last supercharger that we could get was, I think, Uddevalla. That was the last one, and everything above that was just having to search for standard plugs for Type 2 chargers. Some McDonald's had a Type 2 charger, so we ate there, and then in the meantime we could charge a little bit. But mostly, and that's still what we are doing right now if we go on a trip, we use the superchargers to get there, and we rent houses in different locations. And at each location, I ask the owner if we can use it, and I'm always offering to pay for the additional electricity. Usually, they just let me charge without any additional cost. Sometimes it's costing me like 5 to 10 euros if we're staying there for 3 nights, something like that. So yeah, it's just the ease of use of Tesla and the fact that anything that gives electricity allows you to charge, and that is just so awesome. Of course, you need to have the adapters, and my frunk is full with extension cables, red plugs, 32 amp to 16 amp, the blue adapter, the standard red adapter, the UMC, which has some issues with IT networks. which is a specific type of network. I have another video about that specific problem. So I also have a Mannekes Schuko cable to avoid that. And you have a lot of cables, but anywhere we go, we can charge. So that is really good. Yeah, Ethan, I agree. It is an option that would happen, but I don't think they will do that. Tesla has the supercharger network, which allows you to go wherever you want to go, basically, or almost, especially in Europe. I'll come back to that in just a minute. But I don't think, indeed, that they will actually create their own RFID. Tesla produces cars, but Tesla is in essence a battery company, and they don't want to become an MSP, in my opinion. So 15 superchargers in Belgium for the moment. Wow. I thought it was like 10 or 11 or something like that. Cool. Thanks, Yuri. So yeah, let's compare a little bit the two charging networks. So this is Ionity, and this is the current state. And you have to think or consider that they've only been installing for, I think, like 3 years that they really started growing the network. So they are moving really fast, right? They're actually moving faster than Tesla was at the beginning. Now, if you compare that to Tesla, this is the current state of superchargers. Of course, there are quite a few more in Europe. But again, if you look at the difference, it's especially in Eastern Europe and above the level of Trondheim, something like that, in Norway. Above that, you also don't have any Ionity superchargers yet, but they are moving really fast. So that is something that I do like, because the other EVs, the Mercedes EQS, or the EQ series, the Konas, the Nissan Leafs, all those cars, they can use that charging network, and they can also travel wherever they want to go with this charging network. It's not going to give the 250 kilowatts or even the 150 kilowatts for every charger, or for every car, better said, but it is still a lot faster than having to hunt for the standard plugs. Let me see here. So as we are officially a member of Global EV Alliance and we official partner of Tesla, I think we have sufficient power to get Tesla opening up their own network. I don't think it needs to be a priority. I think you're still referring to the MSP part and getting their own contracts there. I don't think that Tesla is ever going to do that. It's just not their priority. They want to produce batteries. They want to produce cars. They want to produce the solar panels. I know they like vertical integration and control over everything, but this is just public locations. And even for installing the superchargers, they need to negotiate a lot of things to get them installed. As an MSP, you need to negotiate with all the other CPOs, the charge point operators, to get a contract with them and to exchange the data. And even that is only now becoming a standard. There are several companies that were just exchanging Excel files with charging data to each other to facilitate such interactions. So. All right, so Ionity, they're good on the way, right? They are doing a great job, and they are continuing to do a great job. So I fully support that initiative for the other EVs, right? I'm feeling the same as most of you guys, saying, okay, I don't want Tesla to open up because of the ease of use of it, and also the complexity of opening it up, as I said before. A lot of superchargers, but let's compare them. How much or how big is that difference? So Ionity at the moment has 346 locations live, with an average of 6 stalls per location. So that's 2,076 plugs. CCS only, right? Tesla has 639 locations with an average of 10 stalls per location. I took this data from the supercharger.info data. So that's a total of 6,390 plugs. However, the CCS, hang on, I'm seeing some bandwidth issues. I'm hoping you guys can still hear me. So we have CCS and type 2 with Tesla, and I didn't calculate that average of how much is the type 2, but let's say about 40% right now is CCS of the stalls, because you still have V2 locations with a few V3 superchargers. So yeah, I mean, but let's say it's half, right? I'm giving Ionity here the benefit of the doubt. Let's say it's half is type 2, half is CCS for Tesla. Then it's still over 1,000 plugs more than Ionity. So that's averaging 10. That's about 100 additional locations on average where you could also charge with CCS. Okay, let's see, what else can we... Yeah, so what I wanted to emphasize is that Germany is trying to push, it's not a fact yet. So the German minister is trying to push Tesla to open up. Tesla, as far as I know, has every right to refuse that. Because it's their supercharger, they pay for everything there, and they get contracts with or a lease contract for the locations that they have, and the locations are also on private property. So I don't think that the government can actually force Tesla into doing that. Of course, if Tesla is not agreeing, and the government wants to do something about it, they can find other ways to put some mild pressure on there. So yeah, that is something that we have to keep in mind. So I don't think it will happen. Tesla will have to be pressed really hard for it to actually happen. Do you think this may happen only in Europe? The EU doesn't like monopolies. It's true that they don't like monopolies, but it is not a monopoly at this point, because you have an alternative charging network, which is Ionity. And that network is accessible to everybody. So they have the idea, okay, Ionity started from the Volkswagen Group after the whole Dieselgate incident. They were forced to act and to do something, and that put them in the right direction, because they are really moving in the right direction at the moment. So we can't ignore that. So they might think, okay, this is German. We will also expect other manufacturers that produce or install charging solutions to make it open to everybody. So yeah, it's not really a monopoly, but they want to have it on the same level. I think that's the idea behind it. But of course, Tesla is continually investing as a single company compared to Ionity being a consortium. But Tesla is reinvesting a lot of money in the supercharger, building it out everywhere. And yeah, I think that's a big advantage still, that they have control over where they build it, how many they build, and they have the data, right? Tesla has a lot of data available from all the cars, and that data set is only growing, so they know exactly where it's needed. But the problem is more for Tesla at the moment. It's not exactly that they don't know where it is needed. It is more that the problem that they need to find a location, and they need to find an owner of a property, or they need to buy some property to be able to set up that supercharger network. So yeah, for me, as I said, I like the fact that they want to put everybody on the same level. I don't like the fact that Tesla is now being forced to do it. Now it's only one country so far, but it can spread to Europe as Europe likes to play along when it suits them, of course, as a whole. So yeah, that is definitely something to keep in mind. Fastnet has implemented plug and charge, but they are not using the standard. So yeah, it is the same for Tesla. So they do plug and charge, but they are using their own implementation. And I think that indeed this is something that will be forced in the coming years. I think between now and let's say 2, maximum 3 years, we will see the plug and charge actually come into play for, let's say, most locations. Not all, but most locations. Okay, so that was what I wanted to discuss with you guys. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments. And yeah, so a little bit of a cutout every once in a while for Starlink, but the thunderstorm has arrived. I've seen a few lightning flashes. I heard the thunder a little bit in the background myself, so probably that had something to do with the Starlink cutouts, as my previous tests have also proven the same thing. As the lightning is building up and the static electricity is building up in the sky, it seems that that is the point where Starlink is suffering the most. Now for streaming, of course, you need a lot of data. You need about 5 to 6 megabits per second of upload speed. That's what I'm getting at the moment. So if that drops a little bit, then you can get those cutouts. Luckily, YouTube is buffering a little bit, so it is capturing that most of the time. So yeah, hey, thanks, Ecamm. Glad you liked it. So if there are no more questions, then we are going to leave it here. And I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. Hope you found it interesting. And as usual, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe, because I intend to do a lot more of these live streams to get some more interaction with you guys, because I really like doing this. So, and I hope you guys like it as well. Right. Thank you. Again, see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.